the classic tale of a student harboring a crush on their teacher. In this captivating story, meet Shukun, a lad who, like many before him, finds himself smitten with his English teacher. I mean, who can blame him? The teacher in question is certainly a head-turner if you know what I mean. In a moment of youthful spirit, Shukun decides to pop the question. Yes, the marriage proposal kind. Now, any sane teacher would probably chuckle, give a gentle pat on the head, and move on with the lesson. But not this teacher. She decides to humor the boy, throwing out a casual response that he needs to grow up first. Here's the kicker. Shukun takes this more seriously than a Shakespearean tragedy. He decides to hold the teacher to her words and patiently waits for the magical age of 18. Unbeknownst to the teacher, this whimsical promise is about to turn her life upside down. It has been many years since then. Sensei, while in a drunken state, recalls. Around middle school, Shutaro dropped out of her class but still came around occasionally, asking her if she had found herself a boyfriend. However, it has been 5 years, and he stopped visiting her entirely, right around the time of his school entrance exam. Now, the once-loved teacher is grappling with feelings of jealousy. Nowadays, even kids in elementary schools have girlfriends and boyfriends, while she still has a lackluster love life at the ripe age of 35. With thoughts of Shotaru's childhood promise lingering in her mind, she assumes he's probably moved on, grown up, and found himself a girlfriend. She starts dreaming of another romantic proposal like Shutaru's, preferably from someone her own age. But alas, daydreams won't get you far in the dating world. So, she takes matters into her own hands, whipping out her phone in a quest for love through a dating app. Just as she's about to venture on a virtual journey of romance, fate knocks on her door, literally. The doorbell rings, and guess who's standing there? Shutaru, ready to fulfill their childhood promise of marriage. But hold on, he's not the little kid she remembers. He's transformed into a handsome young man, a sight that leaves her utterly dumbfounded. As he stands there awkwardly, he asks if he grew up too big for her liking. Maybe she's not into guys like him. The sensei frantically scrambles to explain that he's, indeed, her type. She notices his school uniform. Shutaru explains this unexpected visit. He was on his way back from school when he decided to swing by for a surprise visit. More importantly, it's his birthday, so he wanted to make it the first day of their relationship as well. However, Sensei isn't very keen on becoming a criminal. He reminds her that he is 18 now, so it shouldn't be a problem. He also teases her, asking if she already has her eyes set on his body. In a nervous voice, she quickly tells him to knock it off with the dirty jokes. It all started as a childhood crush, love at first sight, when the beautiful sensei appeared at his doorstep, radiating angelic vibes like the morning sun. She politely asks if his parents are home, but little Shotaru stands there, admiring her beauty. His daydreaming session is interrupted as his mother finally comes. The pretty lady explains that she has just opened up a kids' English conversation school nearby, and is here to see if she is interested. Much to Shotaru's dismay, her mother rejects the offer. But Shotaru, determined to keep the flame alive, unleashed a linguistic storm, shouting English words left and right. Miraculously, it works as the sensei becomes impressed. In order to see this woman, he desperately persuades his parents until they finally give in. And thus, their lessons begin. The narrative delves into their first English lesson, focusing on the pronunciation of lemon. A seemingly innocent lesson takes a turn as the sensei moves in closer to demonstrate proper tongue positions. Little Shutaro's heart pounds with excitement. Even though he was just a greenhorn who didn't know the first thing about love, gazing at sensei's lips, her tongue, her fingertips, he couldn't help but sense the allure of it all. Even in middle school, Shutaru's infatuation with his favorite teacher persists, though his friends don't miss a chance to tease him about his unconventional crush. When his friend questions why he's left her school if he likes her so much, he replies, explaining that his parents only agreed to send him there until the 6th grade. Once again, one of his friends teases him, telling him that someone that old has got to have a boyfriend, and that there is no way that she will marry him. Another one of his friends presents him with a grim reality. It will be another 5 years until they turn 18. By then, they would have grown taller and they would have more facial hair. They would end up looking like their dads. What will he do if by the time he turns 18, he isn't the kind of guy she likes and she turns him down? Anxiety-ridden, he starts visiting the sensei weekly, bombarding her with questions about boyfriends and her likability. He even joins the baseball club after finding out that it's her favorite sport. Not only that, but he also started waxing just to look like her favorite player. However, a twist in the tale occurs when Shotaru, driven by his relentless pursuit, succumbs to an injury. Osgood Schlatter's disease, a consequence of his excessive sports activities. For a whole year, he experiences shooting pains throughout his body. Now in puberty, Shutaru could see his body change right before his eyes. His face begins to look like that of an adult. Feeling anxious and embarrassed, he stopped visiting sensei, As expected from a young and handsome man, he soon found himself on the receiving end of many love confessions. However, with his eyes still set on Sensei, he turns each of them down. This comes much to the annoyance of his friends who can't help but feel jealous. Each time he would explain that he is in love with someone else. His friends tell him to give on that Sensei already, but he isn't bulged. Now it's finally that time. He is about to turn 18. Shutaru shows a picture of Sensei's favorite player to his friends, asking them if he looks like him. His fondest hope is that she will see the resemblance and fall in love with him. Friends being friends, they remind him of all the possible scenarios that his confession could go wrong. If any of those scenarios come true, his long first love will come to an end. The present unfolds with the sensei, speechless and overwhelmed by the sudden confession. Shutaru, unable to contain his admiration, sees her as cute as ever. Sensei, blushing and panicking, rejects the idea, stating he'll always be like a child to her. In a surprising turn, Shutaru embraces her, asserting that he's no longer a kid but an adult. She found herself at a loss for words, the gravity of the moment hanging heavy in the air. Finally, she gathered her thoughts and declared, "We can't." To her, Shutaru is still a child, regardless of his age. The shock on his face is noticeable as she pushes him away, admonishing him for pretending to be an adult and initiating a hug. She starts lecturing him like a proper teacher, about him being out so late even though he is a student. Most importantly, she asks if he even understands what marriage is. How can he provide when he doesn't even have a job? She lectures him about how marriage works. It isn't something that you can just simply ask someone to do. Meanwhile, Shutaru simply stands there with a blank expression. Instead of listening to her, all he can think about is how it has been so long since she chewed him out like this. She starts pushing him, telling him to go home. After hearing all of her scolding, he has only one question on his mind. He asks her if she will marry him if he graduates and gets a job. Unable to formulate a response, all she can do is blush and hide her face. She tells him that no matter what she promised him as a kid, his dream about her is just too much. For one, she is 17 years older than him. On top of that, she doesn't even have any hobbies. On her days off, she just lazes around all day drinking. Her only skill is speaking English, and that's it. While saying this, she recalls her past tragic dating life. She was told by her boyfriend about how boring she is. All she ever wants to do is watch a movie or grab a snack. Her boyfriend broke up with her after telling her that she was bland. This past trauma fizzles in her current situation as she tells Shutaru that she is uninteresting. Dating her would be boring. With tears in her eyes, she tries to make him understand that he is still young. He can find a cuter and more energetic girl. However, Shutaru simply stands there smiling. He asks her the same question he did when he was a kid. "Sensei, do you like me?" Hearing this, she can't help but start crying. She remembers their past when she would always give him the same reply, that she would always love him. Tears start trickling down her face. Shutaru gently takes her hand and tells her the same thing she always told him, that he will always, always love her. Sensei becomes flushed red with embarrassment. He apologizes for having this important conversation when she is still drunk. He promises to think about his future, like she said, and show her that he can become a functioning member of society. He tells her that he will keep confessing to her until she gets a partner and finds happiness. Sensei is left confused and asks him why he is doing this. He is a handsome man. He can easily find another girl, so why is he stuck on her? In response, Shutaru begins to chuckle. He reminds her that he has been crushing on her for 8 years. At this point, he is not in a rush to head to the final result. Also, he tells her that she isn't boring like she said. To him, she is cute and mischievous. She is the most fun when she is panicked and flustered. Although she is sloppy sometimes, he likes that part about her the most. He gently places his hand on her cheek and confesses that ever since they met, she has been his morning sun. Sensei puffs up her face, trying to hide her embarrassment. She tells him to stop trying to sound cool and pushes his hand away. She makes him confess that he only said that because her name is Hinata, which contains the character of sun. Now having calmed down, she reminds him that he doesn't know anything about her. He doesn't know the real Hinata. He only went to her class for 3 years, that too once a week. She once again tries to reason with him, telling him that she is much older than him. This means that she will grow old and wrinkly much sooner and won't be able to give him what he wants. She is about to tell him that choosing her would be foolish, but she finds herself unable to complete that sentence. After a moment of silence, Shutaru speaks up, reminding her that only he decides who he chooses. He reveals that he has already given some thought to their age gap. He knows that people will talk, but that still isn't enough to quell her worries. Shutaru is someone who always strives to live in the now, and now he loves her and isn't worried at all. Whatever happens in the future, this moment will never change. He asks her to believe in that just a little, Taken by his sentiments, she tells him that he is very sincere. However, humans are prone to change, and not always for the better. Shutaru uses this opportunity to tease her. He tells her that he hopes that she will change one day, and also comes to love him. Angered by this, she starts to hit him playfully. She once again tells him to go home. However, Shutaru is undeterred, reminding her that he will be back. Sensei is aware of this by now. Even if she tells him that he can't, she knows that he will still be back. Before leaving, he reminds her that today he turned 18, which means that they can legally get married. However, Sensei quickly answers back, letting him know that that would require both partners to be willing. But this is just another obstacle for Shutaru to overcome. He becomes determined to work hard until she sees him as a man and not just her student. With a promise to come back, he begins to leave. He tells her one last thing. Since he is 18, that means that they can do anything. She is left completely embarrassed and at a loss for words. As soon as he leaves, she quickly makes her way back to her apartment. After taking a deep breath, she starts screaming out of humiliation. She can't believe that she cried in front of a kid 17 years younger than her. She starts letting out all her frustration about Shutaru. While preparing a bath to let out some steam, she reminds herself that she can't fall for all his sweet talk. However, even she can't deny that hearing his words made a thrill shoot through her body. Although she doesn't exactly know why, she couldn't stop her tears from flowing. Maybe, just maybe, he is the man who can mend her broken heart. She quickly slaps her face to try and get a grip. With a reminder to herself that there is no way she can marry or even date a guy 17 years younger than her, she makes her way to the bathroom to finally take that bath. Suddenly, it finally dawns upon her, the true meaning of what he meant when he said anything. Meanwhile, Shutaru is on his way back. While walking, he gets a text from the girl who confessed to him the other day. She apologizes for springing that on him out of nowhere. He reminds her that it's okay since they are still friends. She thanks him and asks if she can call. This suddenly makes him realize that he never got Sensei's number.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.